Welcome. We're joined by Canadian Armenian entrepreneur Patrick Elliott. Patrick, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So firstly, CivilNet wants to do a series of interviews with Armenian people from around the world to see how the war affected them and how they plan to help Armenia now in this stage of recovery. Can you start off by telling us a bit about your own background, where you live and where you're from?
Yeah, I'm a Canadian Armenian, grew up in Montreal. And I live in Poland currently. So I've been there for about 4 years. My wife is Polish, and yeah, I mean, I've been mostly doing online entrepreneurship. So I've been consulting for small businesses who want to start doing their stuff online, get more clients, lead generation, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, we've slowly been trying to figure out where my wife and I, where we want to be settling down. And so we found Armenia, of course, as a very close from Poland and close from her family and so on. So we started to come here more and more, and yeah, we love it. So we're settling here. We got an apartment. We're getting it set up, and we'll be spending more time here. So yeah.
Happy to hear it. The Armenian Entrepreneurship Project, which we're going to talk about today, can you talk about what was the original goal of this project?
Yeah, I started having ideas for this at least more than a year ago. So I was actually invited to speak at a few Polish organizations, some libertarian ones. I spoke at the Capitalism Institute in Warsaw. And the idea was to give a mixture of personal responsibility and at the same time with entrepreneurship, right? And the idea just dawned on me that Armenia can greatly benefit from this, because a lot of Armenians have these hard skills, but they don't have the soft skills. In other words, they're very good at programming, at a lot of the tech setup, you know, it's becoming a bit of an IT capital down here, which is amazing. But without these soft skills to be able to express yourself effectively, to be able to find new clients outside, right? Outside of Armenia, find Americans or Brits or Europeans. In other words, bigger established companies who are willing to pay a lot of money. And then being able to stay in Armenia, where you can live in one of the safest countries in the world. I mean, forgetting what happened the last month or so, but you know, one of the safest places in the world, very high standard of living if you have the money to be able to support yourself, especially if you're getting Western money. You know, be able to enjoy amazing food and a great lifestyle, and really be comfortable in the homeland, in the environment, being with other Armenians, with your culture. It's a win, right? It's being able to bridge that gap between being in Armenia, which is a relatively small market, but also connecting with other companies. So really what I want to do is help train these skills, is to help these, either connecting diasporans to come and settle in Armenia and help with these skills, right? Because our biggest asset is, you know, our languages. You walk on Sarian Street, you'll hear Spanish, Russian, English, French. I mean, on my flight over from Vienna, there was a woman with her baby and speaking to me in Armenian, and switches to perfect Austrian German, which I was shocked, you know. So being able to bridge that gap and build that connection, I think will really jumpstart a lot of the prospects here. Allow regular Armenians to earn more, and more importantly, to take pride in their work. And the vision for me, which is more long-term, but that's what I'm really hoping to get to, is have an entire generation, or even just an entire class of people who are self-sustaining, self-sufficient. And when you start to make really good money, you start to expect much more. You don't tolerate a lot of the corruption that'll come with, you know, or a lot of the you know, this I don't care mentality that seems to be somewhat prevalent in Armenia. You expect more, and so I think that if we have an entire class of Armenians that think this way, that know that they're responsible for their future and aren't expecting anything from anyone, they know that they're going to build something themselves, they're going to be far less tolerant of sliding back to the old ways, of letting, you know, let's say former forces go back to the way things used to be. And you have this whole, all of a sudden, this whole class of people who are uplifting the rest of the country ultimately, and that's really the goal.
And so far, what's the progress been like for this project?
Well, we started doing some live Zoom calls. I wanted to do this in person, so before the pandemic started, I spoke at Impact Hub, and we had about 100 people. It was really cool event. You had some Barskahais come up and speak to me afterwards. You had some Syrian refugees who are now living in Armenia, and they're excited, you know. So that was really cool, but I also kind of felt like I was a bit disconnected from actual local Hayastansis to be able to help them as well and at least connect them. I didn't want this to become like a diaspora-centric program. So then when the war happened, though, I started to realize that really it's not about going, okay, either you're helping the diaspora or you're helping locals. It's really connecting both of them so that the diasporans can have some interesting project, and they'll be able to hire local talent and either move here to manage the project or at least at a distance. So we started to do these monthly Zoom calls, and I'm hoping I'll try to organize something while I'm here, some kind of networking event. But for now we have a Facebook group. It's called Armenian Entrepreneurs and Freelancers. It's growing nice and steadily. To attend these live events or these Zoom calls, you have to donate either to Հիմնադրամ or 1,000 plus. So it's totally free, but you have to donate and prove that you've contributed. So it's pretty cool. We're building a community. It's just very, very small for now.
And you mentioned the diaspora involvement. Can you speak a bit more on this, like how we can encourage now these diasporans to come to Armenia using this project?
I mean, I like to use my wife as a very good example, just because she's not Armenian at all, but she's from the ex-Soviet Union. She grew up in Lithuania and she speaks fluent Russian and fluent English. So she absolutely adores Armenia. And I find that really encouraging, just because I always doubt myself in terms of, okay, do I have a bias? You know, like if I didn't have the Armenian heritage, if I didn't speak the language, would I really feel a connection to this place? But for her to be super excited to be moving here, for her to be ordering, you know, we order in Poland, we order takar wine, so that when we miss it, you know, we're in the EU, we get great Spanish and French wines, but we order takar. So for me, I find that really, really encouraging. And so I think the biggest mistake is to treat Armenia kind of like a duty, right? Because if there's duty, it's not love. You can't force yourself to love someone or something. And there's always this idea, you know, and I have some friends back home, and it's like, yeah, I've been to Armenia once. I went 10 years ago. I did birthright. I'm done, you know? And it's like, you don't want it to be this duty that you have to discharge. Actually, what really we should be pushing is that Armenia is a really vibrant place, man. I mean, restaurants are incredible. Every time I go out for dinner, it's amazing. The people that I meet are really incredible. There's all these interesting people. You have this diversity of just Armenians from around the world, and increasingly it's starting to be more and more foreigners. You know, I hung out with an Indian guy that I met on Cascade yesterday, you know, and he was like just loving it here. So, I mean, this is what we need to be pushing, is that there's so many opportunities that are being kind of left unsaid, because when you think Armenia, you think, oh, I'll come, I'll volunteer, I'll build a house or something. Like, no, come here and do business. You be the bridge between these thriving companies in the West and these small budding companies in Armenia that have the abilities, but they lack the know-how and they lack the connections. And this is where a lot of diasporans can really come in here and provide some real value.
And you've also mentioned to me about Armenia's PR problem. Can you explain what this is and how you think this could be solved, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm probably not the best person to ask about this, but as a marketer, as somebody who works in advertising, it kind of ties into what I said previously, is that I think the roots go a lot deeper than that. And I think that after this war, after what just happened, I think the best we can make of this scenario, of this situation, is to, first of all, accept what happened, right? Not create mythology around it. Get real, get really real, right? And take a look at, okay, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What can we improve so that this never happens again? And the truth is that we've, especially in the diaspora, right? I can't speak for here, but in the diaspora, we are very much raised with a victim mentality. We take almost, I dare say, a perverse pleasure in our victimhood. There's almost this, I don't know, this is, which of course, by the way, the genocide is a huge, huge issue. It's not to lower it or anything like that, but there are living, breathing Armenians, and I think that our obsession with the past has come at the expense of having a vision for the future. And this ties into what I was saying earlier. Armenia should not be treated as a charity project. Armenia's PR problem is that it's specifically not thinking in those dynamic terms. And I'll give you a very, very good example. When the civil war started in Ethiopia, there's a couple tens of thousands of Ethiopian Jews, which, by the way, most Israelis don't even consider to be Jewish. There's still this ongoing question: do they count, do they not count? Right away, Israel sends these jets, they gather them, and they bring them home. What Armenia needs to be doing is think dynamically in these terms, right? We did very well with Beirut, right? Syria, it was the older days, it was not very efficient. I was there when the war started in Syria, and I can tell you some awful stories about how the local authorities handled this. But Beirut was well done. We brought some Lebanese over. Okay, cool. Now what else is going on? Argentina is heading in an awful, awful economic place. They're not going to get out of it anytime soon. I'm sorry, my heart goes out to Argentines. But there's about 120,000 Armenians there. Go, give them a passport. Tell them, hey, first 5 years you come here, tax-free, set up your business, you employ Armenians, all the import of your stuff, tax-free, come on. That's another 120,000 people we can bring in like this tomorrow. Okay, maybe half of them will hop onto Europe after, but the other half will stay, just as the Syrians have stayed. I mean, we need to think in these terms, right? Another good example, when I talk to other diasporans, especially back home, a lot of my friends who, after the lockdowns, you know, their restaurants shut down, their job has, you know, they've been made redundant, and they have these language skills, just basic language skills. I told them, I said, like, you realize that if you just keep doing what you're doing now, right? You keep doing side projects with Canadians or Americans or Brits or whatever, but just base yourself in Armenia. You know that there's a 5% income tax on foreign earned income, and that's it. That means you keep 95% of what you earn, which already is amazing because you won't be giving 35% in Canada, or in California, 48% of your income. You can live like a king in Armenia, and you get to save money to eventually buy property or whatever. But more importantly, when you come here, you have certain standards. You go to restaurants that you enjoy, you can have a good lifestyle, but that's paying for other people. That's creating more jobs. And all of a sudden, you have about a dozen families who are here, and all of their kids, they want a Western education. So guess what happens? You either find a diasporan tutor who's educated in, you know, the American schooling system, or you find a local one. And just before you know it, you have a great international school that just started. Well, what comes with international schools? You're gonna need babysitters and nannies. You're gonna need all the infrastructure, right? So just by being selfish, just by thinking, how do I save more money? How do I keep more of what I earn? Come to Armenia, and you're gonna already start to see that you're contributing without treating Armenia like a charity project. You're gonna give pride in people, in the fact that they're building their own businesses, they're doing what they love. I'm sure there's many young Armenians who love teaching, and I'm sure there's young Armenians who love being a nanny, or who love being an engineer or a software developer. You know, I don't care what the job is, but the fact is that if you're coming, by just being selfish, you're helping more than if you were to donate, you know, $100 to Հիմնադրամ during the war and then just never circle back, and you march on April 24th, and on April 25th, you're right back to your normal life. You would be doing more just by doing that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And finally, I want to ask, a digital nomad visa, what is it? Can you explain what it is, and what is the purpose of it?
Yeah, I'm going on like a grassroots campaign now. It's really funny. The Indian guy I was telling you about that I met yesterday, he's a digital nomad, so I filmed him saying, if you pass the digital nomad visa, I'll stay here for months and enjoy your country. And I'm sending it to all the MPs and the diaspora ministry that I know. Yeah, the digital nomad visa, so far that I know of, it's starting to get more and more popular, but Greece, Georgia, and Serbia have passed it. Those are the main three that I've been studying. I heard that Portugal and Brazil have some kind of similar one. I don't know a lot about it. But essentially what it is it's a free visa. You basically apply online. I'll give you the Georgian example. You apply online in Georgia, and it takes 10 days to process. It's entirely free. And all you need to do is you need to prove a source of funds. So I think you need to prove that you have $3,000 US in your bank account so that you can support yourself, and you need private medical insurance, whether it's in the country or outside, doesn't matter. And that's it. You get approved. You can come, you can stay for 6 months, I think, and I think Greece is 1 year. I might be mistaken, but it's between 6 months to a year, right? And the main advantage of this for Armenians, right, is that, okay, this could be a good bridge for diasporans who aren't sure if they want, right? Because the choices now for diasporans is the 10-year visa, which takes it takes about 4 months to process. Do I really want this for 10 years? I don't know. And the other one is citizenship, right? So this could be a nice middle ground. But the other thing as well, the huge advantage, is that you have all these countries that are closed, and they're planning on staying closed until forever, including Georgia, who has the digital nomad visa, including Greece, who has it, Serbia increasingly so. Armenia is totally open. You come, you take the test, 24 hours later, you're free to go and you can enjoy your normal life. Just told one of my business partners in the UK, he was literally looking at flights before I walked over here, and he's never heard of Armenia his entire life, but he's happy to come here. And this is the point, is to attract these kinds of people. You know, like Dubai became the center of you know, the holiday visits now because everywhere else is closed, but Dubai is expensive. Armenia, you come here, you spend 6 months, you can live very, very, very comfortably. But again, back to the point that I made earlier, just by coming here and being selfish, just by going to all the nice restaurants, buying all of your favorite wines, buying all of your favorite foods, going out on a bender every night if that's what you want to do, go to the bars and get hammered, whatever. But just by being here, getting immersed in the culture, what's going to happen is you're going to eventually bump into somebody who knows somebody, because as you know, everybody knows everyone here. Yeah. You bump into someone who knows someone who, oh, you need a programmer? No problem. Oh, you've got this startup idea? Hey, you should meet these people. They can help you out. So it's allowing these foreigners, more than Armenians, to get really involved in the culture, to get a feel for it, and to ultimately become advocates for Armenia and to contribute to the economy here.
Well, Patrick, thank you very much, and good luck with all your future endeavors.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.